I'm in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Just about a month ago, this whole area was ravaged by Hurricane Ian, a Category 4 hurricane bringing 155-mile-an-hour winds and 12 to 18-foot storm surges. It's the second deadliest storm to hit the U.S. this century, and it absolutely devastated this community as it moved inland. When disasters strike, relief efforts then start. Power and water have to be restored, cleanup crews have to come in and pull out debris so that homes and businesses can get back to their daily lives. But what about communications? Who steps in to ensure that those first responders have the connectivity that they need to communicate effectively with each other? Who brings back the internet to ensure that loved ones can keep in touch and start rebuilding their lives? Well, enter the ITDRC, the Information Technology Disaster Resource Center. Their mission is to respond to disasters in order to connect communities in crisis to the essential tech services that they need. Whether that's setting up a point-to-point link for long-range wireless communication or making sure that a refugee shelter has solid internet connectivity, the ITDRC and their 3,300 volunteer IT techs have your back. Today, those efforts are still ongoing, so in this video, I'm going to be riding along with the ITDRC to see firsthand how their team of volunteer IT professionals are affecting the lives of everyday people trying to recover from this disaster.
ITDRC is a nationwide volunteer-driven organization made up of currently about 3,300 folks from the tech sector, from all disciplines, from probably some of the most recognizable names in technology as well. So our goal is to help communities after a disaster with anything they might need technically. So whether it's equipment, whether it's extra hands, expertise, whatever that is. This hurricane was a Category 4. It kind of traversed the state of Florida, and the majority of the efforts that we're doing right now are all kind of concentrated in the southwest part of the state where it made landfall. We have probably, 130 some odd sites that we've opened up over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And so it's for everything from supporting the public safety, early on the search and rescue efforts, providing connectivity for that, and it's just kind of transitioned into community recovery. Certainly setting connectivity in the shelters, charging stations, those types of things. And now where we are is more about the recovery efforts for the community still while they try to get the commercial network back up.
And how did the ITDRC get started?
Kind of goes back to there was a post 9/11 initiative, and that was to try to bring tech folks together as tech volunteers to help communities after a disaster. It really never took off. It just was a government-sponsored program. And so, we looked at this back in 2008 and decided we could do it at a nonprofit level.
What in your mind has sort of stuck out as like one of the crowning achievements of the ITDRC?
Oh, wow. There are so many achievements organizationally over the last 15 years, and whether it was, getting that first partnership or getting that first, big donation of equipment or, hitting a milestone of X thousand members or something like that. There's been so many of them. I don't know that I could give you one.
But it's been a heck of a ride.
It has been. It's been a good ride. It's been a good ride.
All right, day one heading out on the road with Joe here. And Joe, tell us what we're up to today.
We're headed down to Fort Myers Beach first this morning. We've got a hotspot trailer set up, which is serving the marina, and that's so the boats coming in and out, taking supplies over to the remote islands. So we have a hotspot there that we're going to check on. It's on solar power. So we've had some power issues over the last week or two with that. We're just going to make sure that stays up.
The equipment that's on solar, is it just no power at all out there right now, or?
Correct.
And we're about a month out from when the hurricane hit, yeah? So still no power, and it's just servicing a wireless access point for the marina?
There's a wireless access point, and we've got it backhauled with some diversity. So we have a Starlink VSAT on there, and we have also a CBRS connection over to another the other side of the island. So our goal is to make sure that our CBRS is stable enough to hold that, and then we'll pull the Starlink out and reallocate it somewhere else.
All right, cool. Let's get going. Looking forward to it. So right behind me here, you can see one of the ITDRC remote trailers. This trailer is providing an open wireless internet access for anyone who needs it. It's actually a pretty interesting setup. On top of this trailer, they've got a 4x300 watt solar panel array with all of the batteries and whatnot inside the trailer. And then as far as internet goes, they've got a primary and a secondary. Currently, the primary is this Starlink satellite dish that you can see right on top. There's also a secondary though, a Meraki MG CBRS antenna that's actually pulling from a separate high-rise over this way. So they put the access point over here on top of this high-rise that you can kind of just see right through here. So essentially they found a spot where they could get an antenna up on top of a building that basically can have pretty good line of sight to various trailers and provide that sort of point to multi-point connectivity as a secondary backup in case the Starlink is not functioning. So then they bring up a wireless network, again, free for anyone who wants to connect to it, open wireless, no password or anything like that. It is bandwidth throttled, 5 megabits down by 5 megabits up, and it's also layer 7 filtered, so you can't stream Netflix through it or do any sort of, file torrenting or anything like that, but you can get basic internet connectivity for those who need it, which I'm sure is incredibly helpful for all of these first responders and the folks that are working on cleaning up this mess. All right, done at the solar site. The issue they were having with that trailer was that the solar power seemed to be coming in fine from the solar panels, but wasn't charging up the batteries. So they had charged it up to 100% a couple days ago, and we got there just in time as it was less than 10% battery power left. And even though there was plenty of sunshine outside, it just didn't seem to be keeping those batteries charged up. So Joe here removed one of the batteries out of the bank, and hopefully that will sort that problem out. In the meantime, used a generator to manually charge up the batteries to about 50% or so, just to give them at least another day, even if it's still not working. But now you'll go back and troubleshoot that again and make sure that everything's tip-top
Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning. Yep. Where are we going next?
We are going over to Pine Island. Pine Island is one of the areas that's still without power communications.
Oh, wow.
There is a American Legion VFW post there, which is serving the community with meals, with commodities and things like that. And so we've had a request to put Wi-Fi in there for all the locals who are coming to use that site. So.
All right, cool. Let's go. Joe, what's the goal for this particular site?
So as you'll probably be able to tell, this site is really serving this entire community, this end of the island. So they have commodities here where families can come and get food, canned food, paper goods, whatever it is that they need to kind of get through this period. They're also serving 2 meals a day off the back of here. So the goal for this place is, because it's kind of the community hub, if you will, is to put Wi-Fi here. We're setting up a computer cafe where they can get online and file the FEMA forms or upload their pictures, check the emails, and types of things. So really for here, it's just giving them connectivity. We'll broadcast it outside. The whole parking lot's being used for different things. So whether they just want to sit in their car and get online, or whether they want to come inside, use one of the computers or whatever. Also for the business side of this, we're gonna loan them a voice over IP telephone, so they'll be able to get phone calls in and out here as well. And then set them up with the printer. This office area lost part of the roof. You can see through the outside there. In fact, it's probably a good indicator just down the side of that file cabinet of what the water was like in here. So whatever we can do to kind of get these people back going, since they are serving their community, pretty much anything they need that checks the box for us.
All right, so finishing off the network here at the Pine Island American Legion, they're doing 500 to 800 meals a day. So there's a lot of people that congregate at this location. Having good, solid Wi-Fi is going to be absolutely amazing for those folks that need to get some work done or catch up on emails or send photos to family and stuff like that. They're going to hang an access point right above me here on the door, and it should cover this entire parking lot as well as the area where they serve the food and hand out the canned goods, and it will be wonderful for the people of this community. So they're working on getting that access point up now. The 5G modem is already set up and good to go, and we're getting really good speeds on that in there. They also set up a printer, right? So, you know, the printer that was at this location in the office ended up underwater. And so they don't have any ability to do any sort of printing of whatever they may need to print. And so, yeah, ITDRC also dropped off a printer, set it up, and then what they do is they give them a card that has their contact information as well as the site ID. So if there's any issues with any of the equipment, the folks here at the American Legion can call the ITDRC, reference their site ID, and then basically open a ticket to have them take a look at it from their central control in Texas, or send someone out physically to take a look at the equipment.
Hi, I'm Brian from the IT Disaster Resource Center, and I wanted to show you around our camp here in Fort Myers, Florida, in response to Hurricane Ian. The most important thing is our cooktop here. Some nice breakfast, lunches, and dinners there. All of our equipment very organized. ITDRC, the founders, Debbie and Joe, have been doing this for 15 years, and you can see how organized things are in here. These are our sleeping berths, so one person per booth for berth, and a little bit of privacy with the curtains. Nice and air conditioned in here. And then inside here is our kind of daily operations camp where everybody meets and works and catches up on home and our day job emails and other responsibilities. The team's right here now is planning our mission for today. So another storage trailer here, one of our primary trucks, and then these two white vehicles here are out in the field every day with teams of 2. So that's our gear for the day inside.
Everything you need for pretty much any situation.
We hope to have everything we need, but you never know. A lot of times we have to come back and get something. And then we have very well equipped tools and other things that you need out in the field.
Very cool.
So this is our MTU-4, or Mobile Technology Unit number 4. It has a lot of capabilities. One of the big things it is that it's a central communications piece. So we have, multi-carrier as far as all the cellular. We have satellite as well. So on the back it has a tower, a 50-foot tower. It doesn't just look pretty. It does. It's got an outdoor access point that provides, Wi-Fi for our camp here. It also has a cellular gateway, which helps us when trying to reach the far distant signals from the cell carriers. It has a camera as well, which helps us kind of keeps our situational awareness. When you're inside that truck all day, you don't really know what's going on outside. So that's part of the that's part of the security feature, if you will, of that. 1.8 meter VSAT dish. That's kind of what we use as a secondary when we in the absence of cellular. Over on the side here, there's what we call external control panel. Mainly has our RF connections where we can. These antennas are 20 antenna slots around the top of the truck, and so we're able to switch an antenna to a different radio just by using a control panel, but also a monitor. We can keep up with the weather, things like that. So let's take you inside and we'll show you what's going on inside.
Inside here, you can see it's set up for 3 positions in the engineering compartment. This is probably the primary, the radio position, if you will. It's the one. We have these radios which from the VHF low band, aircraft, marine, and then just VHF public safety, UHF public safety, 700, 800, and then finally there's a 2-meter 440 radio in here. So for the radio heads, there's a little bit of everything in here. They all map to antennas on the roof, so to the appropriate antennas for that. This is a interoperability gateway, so it's kind of a voice gateway where we can take something off of VHF, for example, and cross patch it to 800 megahertz. So that's really what this piece is.
It's also got a phone patch inside of there, so we can do actual phone patches from here. We keep 2 analog phone lines or voice over IP analog lines in the system, so we can actually have concurrent conversations. You can use it as a PBX if need be. Of course, network stack at the top, which kind of runs everything on here. So there are this many data drops inside this truck, which is kind of weird, but nevertheless, we use many of them, and a lot of them, correlate to the equipment that's behind these racks here as well. A bunch of different video sources, so we certainly watch the radar all the time as far as what's going on there. We watch the health of the network here on this truck through our dashboard here, so we can just kind of see that when we're getting in trouble with bandwidth or see how many clients we're on, things like that. We can do those types of things. There's a video switch up here, which so we can have not only local HD channels, but also we can distribute any of our sources, any of the computers in here to any monitor on the truck. So there are 8 monitors around the truck. A built-in weather station, which is up on top of the roof, and so we can kind of see real-time wind and outside temperature and things like that. And then a network video recorder, and so that's how we can watch. It's got cameras all the way around the truck as well as up on the tower that we talked about. This position here, we're watching. This is a TAC, which is a team awareness kit. And so this is where we can see our folks moving real time on the ground. This integrates with our vehicle maps, so we have where our vehicles are located, where our people are located, and then where our sites are located. So we can kind of keep situational awareness on that. What we're watching up here is pretty much just a static map. It's actually it's fed real time through our CRM system. So for every site that's open, it'll pop a green dot on here. As the site's closed, it drops a red dot on here. So you can kind of see just based on where our sites are, where the hurricane went. Hurricane Ian kind of traversed the state and exited over on the East Coast there. So finally back over here, this is the power control panel for the just for this truck itself. So it has an onboard generator, but we happen to be using another generator here to feed power here. So obviously when we set up a camp and we've got multiple things, we try to put one generator to run it all instead of running several different generators. So certainly an environmental control system, 110 volt buses here, and then of course 12 volt buses, which runs the radios and some of the other things on here.
So what does a typical day look like in terms of scheduling for getting folks out to the field from here?
Well, normally we start the night before looking at the requests that either carried over from the day before or the new requests that have come in we've set for that today. So we'll start looking at a tentative list at night. We'll get in here in the morning, take another look, and try to come out with a logical route for these techs when they're out in the field, try to make the best of the most of their time on the road. So I mean, it's really kind of a constant in motion type thing. Again, we get all of our requests through different inputs that come in all times of the day and night. So really, it is trying to be fluid and trying to figure out, prioritize. What's important. What moves as changes do we want to do. We've got one today, which is to add a telephone to an existing network. So lower priority. Certainly, we have some other things ahead of it, but we'll try to get it done today.
All right, first stop for today is this medical tent that they've got set up. You can see right behind me in one of the disaster hit areas. We're dropping off a couple of tablets for the medical tent. They had requested it, I think, for patient intake and stuff like that, but the contact here is actually out cold sleeping, so we are not gonna wake her. We're gonna do a couple of other stops and then come back a little bit later and drop off those tablets. One of the common recurring themes that I've seen throughout this whole disaster response is Starlink. So you can see that ITDRC has their Starlink as well as an MR86, Cisco Meraki access point up on top of the roof over here with a wire coming down. That's just to service this medical tent here. Now, when we showed up, there's another crew here from a different organization also deploying a Starlink business dish for the same medical tent. And they actually have now declined this one since the ITDRCs is already in place. They said, listen, use that somewhere else where it's needed because we already have Wi-Fi here. But yeah, this Starlink is absolutely a game changer for this type of disaster response. All right, another stop at the forward operating base for the Cajun Navy, which is another volunteer organization helping with the relief effort out here in Florida. The ITDRC had already dropped off a Starlink dish as well as a wireless access point to service this forward operating base. They also set up some additional SSIDs for other organizations that needed them. We're back here today just to drop off some additional equipment, including a couple of Chromebooks that they need to ensure that they have the tools that they need to get the job done. So, right, the temporary nature of these kind of setups means that things are always in flux, always changing. Case in point, while we were out here, the Wi-Fi has now dropped. We don't know why. This access point behind me seems to have lost power, so all of the SSIDs went offline. They're doing some other sort of electrical cabling work right around the cable that's plugged into this access point, so they might have pulled on it or something and got it unplugged from the PoE switch. We're not exactly sure yet, so we're going to have to go check that out next and get that back online. All right, they fired up another generator. They got us power back into that trailer. Starlink's back online. The access point is back online. Wireless network's up. The Chromebooks are all ready to go, and so this site is done for now. All right, another stop. We are back at the American Legion where we were yesterday. I checked in with the folks here. They said the wireless has been working perfectly, but they also needed a voice over IP phone, so we brought that in. So here's the phone, Polycom IP335, working perfectly. We already made a test call. Done. All right, our 3 assignments for the day are done. So now with the rest of the day, we're just following up with existing sites, checking in on them, seeing if there's anything else that they need, checking about do they still need the equipment, how long do they think they're going to need the equipment, and just sort of a checkup of what's going on with the sites that have been previously deployed. As you can see behind me right here, this is a medical tent site. So I can't really film over there, but it looks like they've got a Starlink, and most likely they've also got a wireless access point over here as well. Third site we're checking up on is this little marina behind me here, and they provide gasoline to the boats that are coming in and out of the harbor. The checkup went fine. They said that the existing wireless internet has been absolutely amazing. Everything's been working great. They did request a phone though. They need a voice over IP phone, which the ITDRC is going to put on the schedule to deliver in the next day or two, and run a wire down so that they've got phone communication back and forth. And then all they have to do is forward their existing phone number to the temporary phone number of the phone that the ITDRC drops off, and they should be back in business. All right, it's about 5:30 p.m. This is going to be our last stop for today. We did a final check-in to what used to be a core distribution site, and apparently there's no one here. I'm in this empty tent full of supplies with absolutely no one in sight, and we can't find any of the equipment. So we're going to have to check in on this one with home base and see what happened here. Maybe someone already picked up the equipment. Maybe they just took it. We don't know. So that's a mystery we'll have to figure out. Three things come to mind when I think back on the past 2 days of riding along with the ITDRC. The first thing is gratitude. I was able to witness firsthand the direct effect that the ITDRC has on the people that they're helping. Over and over throughout the past 2 days, people told us just how grateful they were for the assistance that was provided. Bringing internet connectivity, laptops, tablets, printers, phones, and whatever else to those in need helps not only the first responders who are directly involved in saving lives, but also members of the local affected community. Bringing tech to businesses that are now able to do business once again, months before actual hardwired internet connectivity is restored. Second is camaraderie. Now, I worked with and lived with about a dozen different ITDRC volunteers over the past few days, and they're just a great group of people. They've all donated their time and skill set to come together and help people who are going through an incredibly difficult situation. Finally, I was super impressed by the massive scope of the ITDRC. Now, I was riding along with a single ITDRC deployment, and it was definitely a big one. They're managing about 135 individual sites within this one deployment. But they currently have over 80 active deployments here in the US, covering everything from Hurricane Ian relief to the flooding in Kentucky to the wildfires in California and the Pacific Northwest. The size and scope of their operation is massive, and it takes an army of volunteers to donate their time to help out. Seeing this disaster showed me firsthand the devastation that can be caused by a hurricane like Ian. But it also showed me the good side. The amount of assistance given by dozens of organizations and thousands of volunteers, even now, a month after the initial destruction, is absolutely astounding and completely heartwarming. The ITDRC is part of that effort, and they have shown me that someone with my IT background can have a massive impact on communities that desperately need help. So I highly encourage you to check out itdrc.org for more information about donating or volunteering. Any assistance that you can provide is greatly appreciated and goes a long way towards helping communities in need like those affected here in South Florida. All right, my name's Chris with Crosstalk Solutions, and thank you so much for watching.